Muso sits high up in the tree. The howls of the undead sound in the distance. He rubs his thigh and knee. His body rocks, anxiety taking hold of him. Eyes stare down at the forest floor, while sweat runs down his back, soaking the shirt he wears. As he raises his hand to gnaw at his nails, the rifle slips from his lap, hitting the branches below before clattering to the ground. The guard doesn't react, swaying continuously. He spits small pieces of fingernail into the canopy, then he flinches. The undead howls are louder now. They call out, as if serenading Muso with their song. He flinches again. Lips move, baring his teeth, teeth that are spotted with flecks of red matter. The man's rocking becomes more violent, aggressive even. He speaks quietly, repeating something. Mumbled words fall from his mouth. He prays, reciting a chant or mantra, over and over. A cry for help, a plea to his god. The man glances down at his hand. He gasps. His fingertips and half of his nails have been chewed off. Bone pokes through the bloody stumps. A yelp leaves Muso. He can't look at his hand, forcing it into his armpit. Tears start to run down his face. Patches of blood decorate his chin where his mutilated fingers had rested. The undead continue to howl. Muso cringes as their choir grows in volume. Their calls like a drill to the brain, caustic to his ears, painful to hear. Then a low cry creeps from his lips, a somber moan that was unknown to him. He bites back the urge to repeat it. He wants to call out. He yearns to howl and howl again. Rocking violently, eyes closed hard, hand clamped under his bicep, the man can take no more. He leans his head back, and suddenly his lungs throw out a huge, savage scream. He sucks in air, then releases another horrendous howl. Eyes open, the dark irises are dashed with crimson, the pearly white eyeball streaked with blood. Veins bulge at his temples. Sinew rises from the skin of his neck. His mutilated fingers appear again, taken from the armpit where they hid, bloody but usable. Muso grips a branch and drops down from his vantage point. The pain in his leg a distant throbbing now, nearly forgotten completely. The boughs cradle him as he descends. Bark and broken twigs tear his clothes. The man falls with animal grace from limb to limb until he reaches the forest floor, landing on his hands and knees. The human lifts his head and scents the air. Another cry rushes from within him, similar to that of the undead, a guttural hooting, though theirs was far louder. The undead in the area hear him, his strange braying. The forest has lost its usual soundtrack, its anthem, the chirping and insects, lilting birdsong, replaced by coarse screams, like dogs barking in the night, communicating in the only way they know how. One cries out, then another replies. Sometimes they all sing in unison, shouting over each other like bickering children. Muso cocks his head to one side. He hears his new friends. They howl, and he replies, shouting out, imitating their call. The bushes to his right shake. A face appears, forcing its way through the foliage. Bare bone can be seen where its nose should be. Two deep holes lie between its eyes, surrounded by shattered cartilage. The mouth hangs open, jaw cast out. A few teeth remain, sticking out from the gums. They look lost in a sea of greying flesh. The beast launches itself at Muso, growling at first, then howling with joy, its call echoing around the forest. The thing was upon him quickly, running on all fours. Muso watches the creature. Its appearance has no effect on him. The guard doesn't move. Still and stoic he remains, staring at the screaming thing that gallops towards him. When the creature leaps to attack, Muso rolls to his left, pulling the undead with him. He bites at its neck, then its shoulder, teeth sinking into the flesh, head shaking, trying to tear the skin from its tethers. The guard reaches up and encloses the thing in a headlock. The beast tries to fight back. Stained hands rain down on Muso's face, the thing struggling not to succumb, beating its fists against his skull. The guard rolls to his right. The weight of the man gathers on the creature's neck. It thrashes. Wild kicks bring dust to the air. Panicked chokes leak out from the man's headlock. The undead's resolve leaking away quickly, thrashing reduced to torpid muscle spasms, its hastened breathing punctuated by a final squeal. Body becomes still. Tangled limbs fall limp. Muso rises from the dirt, unbound from the creature. He lumbers over to the nearest tree and falls at its roots. The man lies on his side, chest rising rapidly as he inhales. Eyes stare into the middle distance. A sound makes him fidget. He glances over at the body, just in time to see its head lift from the ground. Muso growls. His lips peel back to reveal those blood-stained teeth. The undead turns to the guard, but its eyes are different now. Its body moves strangely, head low, not even glancing up at Muso. The thing is submissive. It's fearful of his power. The guard lifts his body from the ground, his gaze still fixed on the creature. Slow paces take him over to the undead. It cowers, groveling at his feet. The man squats down. An undead hand reaches out and rests on his knee, like a dog with its master. Muso scratches at his forehead with ruined fingers. Blood smears across his brow. The undead sees the blood and watches it flow freely from the stumps as they drop to the guard's side. Then the bushes behind him shuffle. A group of creatures appear. They stare at the strange couple before them. Muso lets out a howl, greeting the newcomers. His attention is drawn for only a few seconds when the submissive undead snaps its jaws down on his bloodied hand. The guard tries to pull away, but the grip is too tight. The undead looks up, with no malice evident on its face, as if the hand was not connected to the guard. With his free hand, Muso reaches out to the creature's eyes, tearing at the soft matter there. The creature is pulled closer, still gnawing at its meal. Then the guard defends himself. He bites into the creature's neck. Teeth cut through the ugly bruised flesh easily. The left side of the throat rips open, but the jaws remain shut. Muso bites again and again, each time with more aggression. The neck soon falls away, leaving only the bone and sinew of the spine connecting head with body. Muso gnaws at it, his eager bloodlust taking control. The creature's grip slackens, its muscles relax. The body pulls away, head swinging. It collapses to the ground. The guard turns to face the other creatures, ready to defend himself, but they're already at his shoulder. They look past him at the broken corpse. Muso grunts. He flexes his muscles. He makes himself look big. The pack retreat. They circle him, sniffing and pawing at the dried soil, their heads low. The imposing, former human guard was clearly dangerous. An alpha, an apex predator. The pack start to lie down. rolling over one after another, bearing their bellies to him, saying hello with the grace of animals. Once they have greeted him, all eyes fall on the fresh meal behind him. The poor creature tries to work its legs, gain traction, survive. All the confused movements amount to nothing. They look at it, but none approach, until Muso raises his chin and hoots lightly, his defensive stance falling away to be replaced by a more accepting posture. They take this as a sign. The pack descends. Muso watches them feed. He brings his fingers up to his face and licks at the wounds there. Afternoon sun swells beyond the clouds, filling the sky. Ezra squats behind a small fern, trousers down around his ankles. He wipes the beads of sweat from his eyebrow, then he winces, disgust on his face. Ezra! Ezra! Ezra, you dog's anus! Malika's words ring in the air. Only the man's name is intelligible to him. The rest is just a jumble of foreign sounds. He stumbles forward, trying to walk and pull up his trousers in one movement. Just as he manages to get his shirt inside his waistband, Malika walks into view. She fails to see the accountant. Ezra! She shouts, a note of worry in her call. She turns to leave. Then Ezra decides to make himself known. I didn't think you knew my name. Malika wheels around at the man's voice. Eyes wide, she smiles as she sees him, glancing down at the piece of shirt poking from his open fly. Hi, I was taking a bathroom break. The girl walks over and surprises him again. She wraps him in a warm hug. The little man blushes, placing his hands on her waist. She relinquishes him quickly, then punches him in the chest. A grunt of pain leaves him. His hands rub the stricken area. Don't scare me like that, she says, giggling. Ow! Wow! Okay. I had to take a shit, alright? Damn it. You're crazy. He moans. You don't even know what I'm saying. I still don't believe you know my name. You must think it means hello or something. Why do I even bother? Shit. Fuck. Breasts. Bastard. The girl smiles at his expectant face. His words are just as foreign as her own. See? I could say anything to you, and you'd still be none the wiser. You are a madman, she says. What? Enough of this. I want to leave, the girl says, pulling at his arm. No, I'm not done. We need to leave now. You understand me? She shouts, trying to get her message across. There's no point shouting, not if I don't know what you're saying. We have to go look for the old lady. Come on, the girl says, pulling at his arm again, but Ezra pulls away, heading back to his fern. I can't go if you're looking at me, woman. She smiles and turns around, finally understanding what the little man was yammering about. Yeah, that's right. I've got to take a shit. In the forest. Just like in Scouts, Ezra says with a slight look of unease. Well, maybe not quite like the Scouts. His hands find the buckle. Fingers fumble at the clasp. He's ready to go ahead when the ground moves beneath him. The earth seems to drop away. A moment of cluelessness is followed by shock and pain. He hovers above the soil for a moment before slamming into it. Malika's legs keep her up, knees lock into place. Her hands reach out to the nearest tree for balance. Then she hears the little accountant shout. What was that? An earthquake? His words are interrupted by a massive seismic movement. An explosion of sound, like a mighty thunderclap, shakes the ground with its magnitude. Now Malika finds herself on the ground too. The trees tremble. Dust jumps from the earth. She looks over at the man. He's hugging his knees. Above, at the peak of the valley, a strange movement catches her attention. "Look!" she shouts, pointing up at the mountain for Ezra's sake. "What?" he screams back. The man rolls over, trying to follow her direction. He strains to see anything through the dust, but over the canopy, up in the haze, he can see the mountain peaks rise. "Oh my God!" Ezra says, words muted by the next seismic rumble. The earth screams with dismay as it shifts and grinds. The valley seems to slide south towards its lowest point. The trees sway, fruit falling and smashing as they meet the ground. The humans remain stationary, however, the view rendering them incapable of all but the basest of functions. The valley's peaks rise again, the horizon suddenly higher. Another wave of sound flows through the area, its noise powerful and horrific, like God scraping his fingers down a galaxy-sized chalkboard. Malika manages to get to her feet. The earth convulses as she steps over to her companion. Ezra sits, with arms wrapped around his knees, eyes still directed at the cataclysm above him. He flinches as her hand lands on his shoulder. The girl grips him, pulling the man up from the ground. They stumble together. The earth rumbles, it trembles. Cacophonic sound emits from the soil, like a great yawning, some huge groan, as if the world were waking up after a particularly deep sleep. The couple keep moving, Malika leading the way. She works hard to support the two of them. Ezra was like a dead weight on her back. He slows her, drains her stamina. The little man doesn't want to look up. He lets the girl drag him along. Only when she falters does he attempt a glance. The girl's face is stark, free of animation. She stops supporting him, letting him fall to his knees. The earth still shakes. Trees sway. The accountant fears it all. He stares at Malika with disbelief. She has stopped moving altogether. What is she staring at? Their laboured movements have brought them away from the trees, to an area that Malika thought, under the haze of fear, was safer. Her ancestors' burial site. The stones that mark the graves of the great dead fall into rubble. Pile after pile collapse. Dust clouds billow in the air. The field of ancient totems soon disappear, falling, toppling over, crumbling and cracking into aggregate. Malika cries. Her face distorts with anguish. Ezra cannot look. He rises. The couple stand, giving each other support now, battling to retain balance. A final ripple of movement runs through the land, then silence. Only the patter of tiny stones and debris coming to rest on the ground can be heard. Dust clears, to reveal a vast jumble of different-coloured stone. No longer majestic, the ancestral piles lie ruined. Malika sobs. Kay is surrounded by armed men. He sits upon a small fold-out stool. Someone passes him a metal cup filled with brown food. "I can't stop these guys from cooking. It tastes better than it looks, usually," says the captain. "So they chased you all the way up here? You ran all the way? Jesus, I don't think I could," he barks. "I'm still fit for my age. I run, I box, you know. But those fuckers could keep up. Sneaky bitches. They were hundreds of meters away, and they still found me. They were behind me the whole time. I could hear them." Kay tells him. "And you ran through the smoke? So how did they track you?" "I think they could smell me. or feel my footsteps vibrate on the earth. Like they're dogs, yeah? Just like a pack of hunting dogs. They harry, they try to surround you, they pick off the weak. Wild dogs or wolves, that's how they do it, like that, says Kay, poking at the food with his spoon. So they may be on their way now, one of the men asks. Yeah, you were loud too, another shouts. Okay lads, up and ready. I want to get off this hill pronto. Sergeant, get this man a full clip and a pair of fresh socks, the captain says. Oh no, I'm not going, man. I'm gone, Kay states. Give me the bullets. I don't want your socks. Good luck with it though. Blast those cockroaches. You're safer with us, soldier. 12 guns is better than 1, says the captain. I won't be happy till I'm miles away from here. Going back in there is suicide. But don't let that stop you, Kay replies. A soldier passes him a magazine and pats him on the butt. Kay rips the spent clip out and slides in the next. He gives a quick salute, then heads for the tree line, leaving the soldiers to gather their packs. So you're a coward. You ran away, and now, even with all these finely trained men to protect you, you still run. I'm surprised, and I'm never surprised. The captain yells after him. Kay walks on, rifle slung across his back. A weak smile appears on his face. I'm going home, Captain, Kay shouts back. The men take no notice. They load up all their debris and check their weapons before filing out onto the path. The captain joins them, running past the column of men to take his place at the front. As they step between the 2 great boulders, a tremor moves the earth beneath them. The men stop, looking to their leader. He starts to shout an order when the ground explodes with furious anger. Soil tearing, rocks splitting, sending shards of stone into the air. The men grip whatever they can. Most fall forwards onto their bellies. Rocks and rubble tumble from the upper slopes. It rains dust and stone fragments. At that point, another mighty explosion rattles the earth. The ground opens up, pulling the area into 2 separate pieces, dividing it by a yawning crevasse. The captain hugs at a boulder, trying to stay safe, trying to stop himself falling. His men shout. They look to him for direction, but he can offer them no help. The man watches as his comrades lose grip and drop into the hole, disappearing from view. A landslide of shale and loose rubble flows over the edge, covering them all. Like an avalanche of stone, it washes down the slope, wiping the men over the precipice. Their bodies flip and cartwheel as they fall. Trees and boulders tumble over with them. Captain yells at the men nearest him, telling them to come over to his place of safety. They stumble as they approach. Arms reach out for the captain. He reaches out too, as a tree trunk bounces onto the men. They are carried away, leaving only a fine red mist behind. Captain closes his eyes, hugging the rock. He feels the earth jump. The world moves beneath him. It screams under the seismic pressure. Finally, the shaking and noise ceases. Loose rubble settles. Clouds of dust clog up the air. When he opens his eyes, he sees the carnage. His men are gone. A lone arm lies a few meters to his right. A layer of stone covers all. The man steps over the wreckage, searching for signs of life. "Captain, here! Help!" comes a call. The captain runs over, pulling the man from under a branch. As he brushes the muck from his hair, another man walks over, bloodied, half broken, with rifle still in hand. "Shout out if you can hear me," The leader yells. No response. No more soldiers appear. Captain helps his men back to the path. They check their packs and weaponry, then start to descend. His last cigarette is lit. Smoke spirals from it.
Be wise, my son, and make my heart rejoice, that I may make reply to him that is taunting me. Proverbs 27:11. For be it from the true God to act wickedly, and the Almighty to act unjustly. Job 34:10. The angel of Jehovah is camping all around those fearing him, and he rescues them. Psalms 34:7.
Stone walls run with condensation. Tiny trickles of water descend the surface, an orange light mirrored in their streams. The old man is hunched over a small fire, his breathing loud and harsh. The man's arms work furiously at some laborious task. He coughs suddenly, breaking his torrent of scripture. Echoes from his hacking repeat and repeat again. He's in a long cave. Daylight barely a speck in the background. The man swallows hard, then spits out a throat full of foul liquid. Old man peers off into the darkness. He jumps up, walks to the wall, and licks it. Next he shuffles over to a stalactite and holds his mouth under it. A few drops fall. The man isn't refreshed, so he walks back to the wall and tries to find moisture there. From the dark depths, a small gust of wind breezes through the cave, causing the fire to flare. He stops licking and stares towards the darkness. The great day of Jehovah is near. It is near, and there is hurrying of it very much. Zephaniah 1:14. You are my refuge and my stronghold, O Lord my God, in whom we trust. The old man turns his back on the fire, grabbing at a stick lying nearby. He has sharpened it, making a rudimentary spear. More scripture tumbles from his mouth as he heads for the light of day. The walls of the cave begin to resonate, the moisture gathering into beads, the beads running to the ground quickly. A look of terror crosses the man's face. He runs, the staggering sprint of a man in pain. From the deep of the cave surges a huge gust of warm air, followed by a low bass tone, like the drawl of a cello. The old man is blasted onto his front. He looks around, surprised by his relocation. A long stalactite cracks and falls. Fragments shower down onto the man's face. His hands reach out, searching for the spear. Then they fly up to cover his eyes. Another deep bass note shakes the cave. It ripples through the tunnel. Then everything turns to black. The old man shouts out, his yell tinted with fear. Stone and mud leap from the floor as the cave rocks savagely. Great heavy boulders roll from their nests of moss and debris, only the sullen light of the man's fire etching their outline. Splinters of solid rock explode from the walls as they rupture, firing shrapnel into the man's back and shoulders. He rolls over, grabbing at the new wounds, his agonized cry barely audible above the rampant din of the earthquake. A huge rock tumbles towards him. Old man scrambles, rolling to his right. He doesn't see it crash past, inches from his head. Legs shoot out and try to prop the man's body up, but the shaking is too violent for his weakened frame. He falls. A stone slab peels from the wall, breaking into pieces and dropping down onto the Elster. The man feels the air rush from his lungs, diaphragm and ribs beaten by the rubble. Under such a weight of fragmented rock, he pulls his body along the floor, trying to reach the far wall. Desperate for safety, Above him, another stalactite breaks and falls, its sharp end missing his legs by a few feet. At the wall, he hugs his knees, arms locked tight against shins, eyes shut hard, forced against his shoulder for protection. Now he starts his recital, lips spelling out the Lord's Prayer, inaudible over the earth's howl. The tunnel leaps, throwing the man across the floor, smashing him into the opposing wall. The jolt of pain overrides his urge to pray. Then the shaking subsides, the vibrations weaken, boulders stop rolling and find new homes amongst the detritus. The cave is soon silent. Lazy dripping of condensation plays out a slow beat. The old man's sobs harmonize well, almost in time.